Hi, this is EJ and Samia from Turtle Tank, and welcome to another episode of T Squared Turtle Talk. And today we're going to be talking about one of your favorite subjects, right?
Yes.
So you've said something really provocative and really interesting I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, what's that?
You've referred to radical entrepreneurship as the...
The what? The suspense is killing me. Yeah, I referred to. You're looking. She's looking at her notes. Okay, as what?
The most effective way to create sustained change in the 21st century.
Right. Well, I called it the most important form of holistic activism too.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what this is titled, I think.
Basically, tell me, read the title.
Yeah.
Let's just rewind and start over.
No.
Okay.
So we're good.
Okay. So explain.
Okay. I think that activism has been overly focused on the social, political, environmental, cultural, spiritual spheres, and not as much so on the economic sphere. Not that the other ones aren't extremely important, as we know, the cultural shift and the spiritual shifts are fundamental to everything else that we do, including political, social, etc. All of that is included. However, I think we have struggled to deal with the economic space because oftentimes we're in that kind of capitalist socialist divide. You know, we're stuck. We don't know how to deal with power. We don't know how to deal with wealth. We don't know we don't understand money. We're financially and economically illiterate, or we're very literate and we're scared, and we don't want to recreate the systems that we exist in and all of that, good stuff. And we end up on one end of the spectrum, either too collective or too individualistic or too, etc. We're scared to recreate old patterns and to participate in what is a colonial market, essentially, right? Understood. But I think that's precisely the space we need to tackle as activists, is how to reframe economics to our advantage. And so radical entrepreneurship includes all of the other spaces. It deals with all the other spaces, social, political, cultural, spiritual, environmental, etc., alongside the economic space of, managing resources. And we'll talk about that later because I don't think economics should be about managing resources primarily. But we'll talk about that later.
Well, let's talk about what exactly is economics, because I don't think I fully understood it until we started talking. So
right.
How do you define economics and what exactly is it?
Right. Well, economics breaks down. It's from the ancient Greek, I think, eiko and nomos, and it means oiko, nomos. I think it means management of the household or laws or rules of the household, meaning. And I think ultimately it's about based on a value system, how we set up laws to distribute and wealth, and so big words. How do we have to redefine what wealth means also? And oftentimes that included people, right? In for better or for worse, So yeah, economics is a system of value. How do we set up a system of value? It's that simple, really. Unfortunately, it's primarily been dealt with in a theoretical realm, whereas entrepreneurship has been kind of on the ground, and And so what is grassroots radical economics, right? How do we set up value systems that work in small spaces and then grow them out into bigger spaces, not have them imposed on us from a governance structure, Our economic condition overdetermines everything that we do, from our rent to the water we drink, the food that we eat, the medical attention that we get, etc. So it should be central to our activism, not just in a reactive way, but in a proactive, constructive way. How do we not just fight the system, but also set up alternative systems, and not just band-aid solution the old systems, also set up completely alternative systems, in a centralized, mobilized, organized way, right? Because that's important.
So for you, like, holistic activism is activism that includes the economic sphere and includes us participating in reframing how that economic sphere like fits in with like our vision of the world we want to live in.
Actively, not just reactively.
Okay.
Not just, as we said earlier, foundations, money, grant money, charity money, but really participating in recreating the economic space.
Okay.
Right.
And so could you then define like radical entrepreneurship, or at least like entrepreneurship, like what is that and how does that fit into holistic activism?
Right. So entrepreneurship for me is the act of taking matters into our own hands on a grassroots level. That's what the word means. It means to undertake in French. And that it implies kind of an active form of taking control and taking power. And so, when you put the word radical next to it, it means taking power in a root kind of way, in a fundamental kind of way, that, again, is can have systemic and holistic, sustainable value. Yeah. So...
I mean, there are those who would argue with you and say that, activism does consider economics right now, and there's like all these movements for, divestment and like boycotting like certain companies. What do you say about that kind of activism?
Well, I agree. I think it's reactive, though, and I think it's important. So here's the thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about divestment, investment, and then we can talk about, destroying and rebuilding. I think that, it's much easier for me to find a list of things I shouldn't buy, as we mentioned earlier, than it is for me to find a list or even places from which I should buy. And so we're overly focused on holding, corporations accountable, on holding the government accountable, on holding, the militarized police accountable, etc. We're much more focused on that than we are on building, because building is hard.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very hard. It's easy to get inspired and angry, and I'm not saying, again, it's very important to understand that we both need to destroy in order to rebuild.
Yeah.
That's fundamental. However, our efforts have overly leaned towards the act of breaking down, which is, again, very important, but we're overly in that space. I think it's time for us to start being at the 50-50 space where, some of us are focused on that, and the others who are focused on building up and creating sustainable solutions from which the people who are, where things are being destroyed can then move into the things that are being built. I think there's not a centralized effort or as much of an effort, or as much of mobilization around building. When you see massive mobilization, it's usually about tearing down. Which is very important. Yeah. I'm going to say that again because none of the work that's happening right now is not important. It's extremely important. Yeah. But we also have to start thinking about long-term solutions. We can't expect people who are economically disadvantaged to participate in our cause and go back to, the situations that they're in, or go to jail. People that are living paycheck to paycheck that don't have, alternative solutions to walk into. Yeah. We can't keep fighting for Band-Aid solutions. We have to fight for long-term sustained solutions as well. Yeah. And so, yes, someone needs to take care of the immediate situation, and other people need to help build alternative solutions, help think about alternative solutions. We each have our role in that system, and I think, again, we're overly focused on the breaking. We're not as focused, as mobilized and centralized and organized around the building. It's just the truth, especially when it comes to economic power. We don't understand what economic power means. We think we do, but we don't. We usually deal with it by not participating, not by creating, right? Yeah. And not by inventing, and then failing, because we're scared. We're going to talk about that later too. Yeah. We're scared for multiple reasons. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense, and that, you're saying that radical entrepreneurship is a tool and a way to do that building work and do that creation work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's an underground, you know, kind of grassroots activism that, you know, makes us take things into our own hands, and that includes economics as central as much as all of the other areas are, and in an active, not passive way. Mm-hmm. You know, because I think we need to be building the alternative systems just as fiercely as we're fighting the ones that exist.
Exactly.
You know, just as fiercely, and write poetry about that too.
Yeah.
Not just about down with the man. Poetry about the beautiful, amazing, ridiculous things. You know, ownership structures and, you know, collective systems that we're building that do consider and focus on reframing, you know, economics to radical economics, right? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. And we haven't really asked the hardest questions yet.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
There are some, I'm not going to lie, there are a lot of organizations and some movements that are doing this work on the ground. Mm-hmm. But again, we're destroying it.
Yeah.
There isn't kind of a central space where all of us radical folks are talking about this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's what Turtle Tank is about, you know. So,
and I mean, I think a huge piece too, like when you talk about like holistic activism and how often like the economic sphere is left out of that, a huge part of that is literacy. Like a lot of people don't understand economics. I didn't, you know. I mean, I still don't. Like I'm asking you, I'm learning from you about that. But I think that that's a huge piece that like limits people from being able to like engage their imagination to think about like what else is possible. And so so I'm really excited by what you're proposing.
Yeah, I'm excited about what we're both proposing. And you know, yeah. That's
Right.
it. Yeah.
So if you're excited about what we're proposing and you want to learn more about like holistic activism and radical entrepreneurship and how you can begin to like engage with that model and like use that to reframe like how you're approaching your work, please subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, join our mailing list at our website, turtletank.co, and share this video. The more you share it, the more we know that you're interested in this topic and the more helpful, informative videos we're going to create for you.
Great.
All right. Thank you.